If you're trying to lose weight for summer and maybe you want it to actually go beyond it this time, maybe you are sick of yo-yo dieting, you're sick of constantly going on to some kind of diet and then your habit slipping and you want to actually lose weight and keep it off, then this video is for you. I lost 40 pounds on a plant-based diet and I didn't lose it through going vegan. I actually struggled with my weight for about 10 years. I was constantly losing and then gaining, and then everything changed in 2018 when I learned about something called calorie density. I was able to eat massive portions of food, finally stop that binge and restrict cycle, and now I've maintained that weight loss for about 6, coming up 7 years. The thing that changed everything for me was understanding the core weight loss habits that I needed to not only lose the weight, but also maintain it as well. So if you want to learn the 5 core non-negotiable habits that changed everything for me and that I still use to this day, then keep watching. Before we get into these 5 things, you need to understand why you are struggling with weight loss in the first place. It's not because of your metabolism. It's not because of menopause. It's not because of emotional eating or because you don't know how to make weight loss meals. For most people, 99% of people, the reason that you struggle with your weight is because you don't know how to stop a weight gain spiral. And I was exactly the same. I knew how to start losing weight. I didn't know how to stop the creep of those bad habits slipping back in or the good habits slipping away. And so every time I would lose, I would also gain the weight back. And if you are overweight right now and you want to lose it, it's because at some point your behavior caused weight gain. So instead of solving for how do I lose weight, what we're going to do is we're actually going to invert it. And by the way, this is the only thing that actually works if you want long-term results. We're going to start to think about, well, what would I need to do today to maintain long-term results? What would be the behavior and the identity of a person today that once they'd lost the weight, they would actually keep it off? And the biggest thing that's going to change that is to get out of an all or nothing cycle and to make your behavior and your core habits easy. And this is a very different way of getting to a result, because we're not focused on the result in terms of a goal and the quickest way to get there. We're thinking about what's the identity and the behavior that's going to maintain it. Just like if you wanted to be a marathon runner, you'd be looking at, well, what are the behaviors of that person today? They get up when their alarm goes off. They get out for a run 5 times a week or 3 times a week. They make themselves do uncomfortable things and actually get out the door, put their shoes on, even when they don't want to. So it's not about, well, how many Ks do I need to run a marathon? What's the best training plan? It's what's the identity and what are the habits of that person, and then setting up a system that allows you to consistently do them. And that's going to safeguard you that even when the race is over, you still do those things because it becomes part of who you are. All right, so let's do that. What are these 5 things? Habit number 1 is to eat vegetables every single day. And I typically say eat 1 pound of vegetables, and that's an amazing place to start. We're talking non-starchy things like broccoli, mushrooms, asparagus, green beans, snap peas, carrots, really any non-starchy veggie that you want. They are very low in calories, which means that when you eat a lot of them, you're going to offset your current calories, eat less overall, which is going to make it easier to get into that weight loss zone, because you have to be in a calorie deficit, aka less calories than you burn, if you want to be losing weight. And you're going to have to always eat less calories as you become a smaller person, because you're going to need less fuel. So this is a habit that you're going to have to consistently do. You can't just eat less calories while you're losing weight. You're going to have to do that forever, unless you get so massive with so much muscle and so much bulk that you need just like way more calories. But it's unlikely that you're going to gain like 30 pounds or 20 pounds of muscle, right? So the easiest way to do this, that's going to tie this behavior with an existing habit, which makes it much easier to build habits, is to eat half a pound of veggies, or at least half of your plate, vegetables. And I'm not including salad here, because salad does not have a lot of weight at your lunch and your dinner. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, if you are out eating, you order a side of vegetables. If you are cooking at home, you add a side of vegetables. You basically do not eat lunch and dinner without adding half vegetables to those meals. And I had this as a non-negotiable that allowed me to lose the 40 pounds, but also meant that even when my habits slipped, I didn't gain that weight back, because I had to eat lunch and dinner. And because I always had the veggies tied to that behavior, no matter what I was doing, my meals were lower in calories than they used to be, always. I anchored a weight loss habit to an existing behavior. And I created a visual rule that was also actually a taste rule, where dinner and lunch didn't even feel like dinner and lunch unless I had veggies. Unless I had a ton of color, unless I could taste vegetables, it didn't even feel like a meal to me. And so I always just want to eat that way now. And because it's the number one thing that's going to influence the calories that I eat, I've basically safeguarded myself from weight gain, because not doing it feels as weird as not brushing my teeth at night. And it's a baseline that I can sustain forever. And a little side quest on this, when I see people gain weight back, it is almost always because they start neglecting vegetables in their day-to-day. So just make a decision from here on out that you're going to do that. And by the way, if you want to learn exactly how to build weight loss plates that look like that with a ton of vegetables, then I have a free resource that shows you exactly how to do that inside of my Kickstarter. Take a look at the link in the description. I made it completely free for you because this information should be just available to everyone. Like, it's not complicated, okay? Habit number 2 is to eat a potato every single day, like a lot of potatoes. I have at least one meal a day that is potato rich. Why? Because it helps me to feel more full and satisfied. Potatoes are the most satisfying food on the planet. They have the highest satiety index. They beat everything out by a mile, which basically means that when you eat them, you feel full and stuffed and you don't want to eat your favorite foods. I did an interview a couple of years ago with Andrew Taylor, who is also known as Spud Fit, the potato guy, and he lost 100 pounds eating purely potatoes. And he never even told himself that he couldn't eat other food. He didn't create those kind of rules. He just created a system that made it easier for him to stay consistent by saying that I can eat whatever I want. I just have to eat my box of potatoes first. And he told me that he would literally go into McDonald's, sit in the car park, be prepared to order a Big Mac, but just have to eat his potatoes first. What would happen is that he would get so full and satisfied that he didn't want the burger and he would drive out of McDonald's. You don't have to have more willpower. You don't have to be more consistent, because your willpower is always going to fail in the face of hunger. We are not designed to beat hunger. We are not designed to stay consistent when everything inside of us is telling us to go and find food. You think about all of the heinous crimes that people have committed throughout history just to get food, because hunger is our strongest motivator. And so when you think about coming back to that concept of just avoiding weight gain, then the easiest way is just to avoid hunger. Because if it feels easy, then it's going to be sustainable for us to do long term. When it comes to sustaining weight loss, we're not trying to become the kind of person who can consistently do something difficult. We're trying to find out how to make it so easy that we want to do it by default, that it becomes autopilot. And potatoes are going to be the biggest way that you do this. I just can't stress this enough. Like, eat a freaking potato, please, I'm begging you. And I kind of think about this like doing a fundraiser where there's one of those thermometers, and every time you get a donation, it gets like closer and closer to the top, and then everyone celebrates. And I believe, truly, there is a level of potato-ness that you can eat that you will not want your favorite things, that you will eliminate every single craving because you'll just be stuffed. And the idea of putting more food into your gullet sounds gross to you. And the best part about all this is potatoes are so low in calories that even if you were to absolutely stuff your face, you could not eat too many. You have a natural safety net of stuffedness that is going to stop you overeating on calories. So here's the behavioral hack. If you're snacky, eat a potato first. If you're going to go to an event and you're going to be tempted by processed food, eat a potato first. And if you do this, you're going to stop living like a perpetual dieter and instead start living like someone who doesn't need to ever white knuckle cravings. Habit number 3 is going to trigger some people, and that is to weigh yourself every day. And it's not for the reasons you think. It is not because you need to look at that number and attach some kind of meaning to it. It is because it's going to, again, safeguard you against weight gain. And so there's been multiple studies now that look at what are some of the behaviors of people that lose weight and keep it off long term. And one of the main ones is to continue to weigh yourself every single day. Why? Because it's an accountability tool. You're not doing it to see how much weight you lost. It doesn't matter if the scales goes up or down on a day-to-day basis, because even in a weight loss phase, that is going to trend downwards like a stock market. Well, a bad stock market. You're going to have spikes within there anyway. That doesn't matter. It's not relevant. Like, accept that is normal. Don't look for consistent lows. Look for a consistent trend. But even more importantly than that is, well, what happens when I do have a binge? What happens when I do start to spiral? If you're consistently weighing yourself, there is only so much weight gain that your brain can tolerate when you are visually seeing it every single day, that it is going to force you to get back into your baseline habits, because it's going to become too uncomfortable to see an extra 5 pounds, to see an extra 10 pounds. I have not yet met a person, and I'm sure there's outliers, I haven't seen them, where someone can consistently be gaining like 5-10 pounds and still weighing themselves, because at some point you stop doing it because it's too uncomfortable, or you stop the behavior that's making you gain in the first place. And I'm going to use an analogy that maybe sounds a bit weird, but this is the way that I think about it. Is like, if you were going to cheat on your spouse, you probably wouldn't be looking at a picture of them on the wall while you were doing it. Like, there's a reason that people remove their wedding rings. And it's the same concept. You want to make it difficult for you to continually be in the arena of weight gain. Daily weighing keeps that commitment front of mind, and it allows you to quickly pull back where you need to. And there isn't actually any scientific data to suggest that this is harmful for someone mentally. It maybe just feels bad for you. But if you do it enough times, it doesn't even feel bad, because you realize it's just data, you learn your own body, and you stop attaching worth to it because you do it long enough. It's like exposure therapy. But more importantly, there is data that shows that this genuinely works. Habit number 4 is to cook without oil. I can't do a video. I wrote this outline. I didn't want to say this because I say it every freaking video, but it is one of the most important things. Don't cook with oil. Don't eat oil. Oil is 4,000 calories per pound. You're going to be eating a lot of veggies. By contrast, vegetables are 100 calories per pound. So you're having a 40-fold difference from something that you're just using to cook with, which means that if you're sauteing, let's say broccoli, and you put a couple of tablespoons of oil in, you're going to have more calories coming from the oil that you're not going to feel any more fullness from than from the broccoli itself. When you stop cooking with oil, you can remove hundreds of calories a day, thousands of calories a week. And you're not actually going to notice that in terms of fullness, which is the most important thing when it comes to sustainably keeping weight loss behavior consistent. And this is another anchor behavior, because you're just learning a new habit around something that already exists. If you already cook, you're just removing something. This is so much easier than adding exercise to your lifestyle, for example, because you're just slightly modifying something you already do. And the other identity tie-in is, you're not just doing some kind of diet, or you're not just counting calories to achieve a result. You're actually changing the way that you cook in order to sustain that systemically. Habit number 5 is the concept that ties all of that in, and that is to define your core behaviors, your core weight loss habits, your non-negotiables, as opposed to setting goals. This is the difference between saying, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to lose 40 pounds versus saying, I'm going to eat a potato every single day. Your baseline habits are going to be what gets you losing weight, but they're also going to be the thing that allows you to maintain that. They are going to be what you always come back to, and as long as you don't slip from them, and everything we're doing here is helping you to avoid the slip, then you will be able to actually get to that 10 pound or 20 pound or 40 pound goal. And so for myself, I do all the things that we've just talked about, but I also have a really clear understanding about what my day-to-day needs to look like. So the only thing that I'm solving for, if I'm ever gaining weight or if I ever want to get leaner, is just to get back into those behaviors. I don't have to define a weight loss goal. I don't have to say that I'm going to count calories. I just define my behaviors. I just get back to those behaviors. So for me, my non-negotiable is I eat oats every day. I have a potato-based meal. I never cook with oil. I have one takeout meal a week, and I've defined that in advance. And my baseline lunch is broccoli, tofu, potatoes, and then I have a whole foods dinner that still has a ton of veggies at night. That's slightly shifted now during summer, and I never thought that I'd say this, but I'm actually eating like a fruit-based meal at lunch, and I'm loving it because there are so many melons. But that's new for me, and I've still defined that as like a baseline. I don't have to make a decision about it day to day, and that's what I'm trying to get at. And so defining these baseline habits for yourself is about creating a floor as opposed to a ceiling. This is where you come back to, and it defines the minimums that keep you in the game, even when everything else falls apart. It means that even if I have a donut, even if I go out drinking, even if one of my meals has more calories, my baseline stays the same. So the worst thing that can happen is that my weight loss pauses, or maybe I gain like a couple of pounds, as opposed to gaining 30 or 40 or 50 back, which is what always happens. And more importantly than stopping the physical effects of weight gain, you are rewiring your brain to create trust in yourself and a new identity around habits today, as opposed to future outcomes. And when you do this, you create teeny tiny votes for every behavior that you are now a different kind of person. You are the kind of person that is going to maintain this long term because you took a vote for that identity, not futuristically, today. And you think about how counter this is to what most people do, which is take consistent votes to be a yo-yo dieter, restricting after a binge, punishing yourself with tons of exercise after you fall off track. yo-yo dieter identity. Not going to the gym if you can't get a full workout in. All or nothing identity. That is not the identity of someone who is at your goal weight and consistently does the things that are required to stay there. And so it's not going to get you there either. And the most hopeful thing about all of this is that habits do compound over time. So even if you start with one non-negotiable and one baseline habits, and you pick one thing from this list, you can build on that and you can start to shift and change who you believe that you are through evidence, and over time add more and more and more of these habits and actually follow through them, because now you have trust that you can. Big transformations don't happen by getting everything perfect. They happen because you get better at course correcting after micro failures and then avoiding a spiral. And the power of all of this is not vegetables, it's not a potato, it's behavior and votes that keep you in the arena of a new identity so that you can change and maintain that change over time, because you become someone new. You change who you are not by one giant effort, but by those consistent tiny votes that taught you that you never gave up to being that person. And then one day you wake up and you just are. I hope this was helpful, and if you want more of these concepts about how to rewire your brain to stop that all or nothing cycle and actually become the kind of person that can do something long term, then I talk about this in my podcast a lot. So you can check that out in the description. Let me know in the comments which of these habits you are going to implement, and I will see you next week for another video.